lot of people think the water birth really, like, the whole birthing experience is taking place in the water. But when actually, executed by, which would make perfect sense to anyone who's not familiar with the water birth. Yeah, hang out in the hot tub the whole time, and sounds good to me.
Right.
But they use the tub as a couple of things. It's your kind of your last ditch effort. So you try to wait as long as possible before you ever get tub. And it also serves as a kind of a lubricant in a way. Your figure, this tissue is stretching tremendously, and child's getting pushed out, like keeping it wet and warm, just kind of really. Jen noticed a significant difference in just like how her vagina felt when she went from like the dry air to being in the water. And people talk about like this ring of fire thing, just when your vagina is getting stretched so much.
I imagine so. Yeah.
And the water just kind of, I mean, you know what it's like being in the water too. Your skin kind of loosens up a little bit,
right?
And
you feel more fluid. Yeah.
Kind of pulls some of that moisture into it. And so it's the last ditch effort that kind of like it changes your mindset a little bit. So like going from this laboring process to getting into the tub kind of like switches the tempo of everything a little bit. Like it's kind of game time. It helps kind of relax the body and moisturize the tissues, and then you just, baby comes floating out. I thought I was gonna like catch a baby.
Yeah.
and Star just floated to the top.
Okay. Oh, that was my next question. So like it's labor
interesting.
starts outside of the tub, yeah. And then at what point does like the Jen like migrate to the tub where it's like, okay, now it's getting real?
It's difficult. That's the only birth I've ever seen.
Okay,
so
it's fair. Yeah.
I don't have a lot of context as for how to gauge the. Dude, I thought we were having a baby halfway into it. Like our midwife went to go take lunch. I'm like, what?
Went to go take lunch mid-birth?
She's like, real confident about what was
It's a
happening.
confident woman.
Yeah, I'm like, my wife is dying.
Yeah.
Like, I think she's gonna die.
Oh yeah.
And you're gonna go get a sandwich right now? Like, I was kind of blown away, but also at the same time, I was like, oh shit, like we're not even close. If you're going to go get a sandwich right now, we're not even close. And so, but I thought a baby was coming, like for sure. It looked like my first time looking, I'm like, yo, there's a baby coming out. Like you need to get back from lunch now. And she takes her time, and she knows a baby's not coming anytime soon, because she just saw Jen 40 minutes ago, and she was maybe only 2-3 centimeters dilated. So no baby's coming out of that. And it's, oh wow. But yeah, I had no context as to the timing of it all, and how to gauge exactly when to put the birthing individual into the tub. But our midwives knew exactly what was going down the whole time, man. They were cool as cucumbers, dude. They knew exactly what was happening and what to say to kind of trick you like into thinking like you're in control in a way.
Well, as the man, you're in control? Like talking specifically about you?
No, the woman. Like for Jen, it would be like, Jen about halfway through was like, get me out of here, take me to a gosh damn hospital.
Okay.
And
it was
like,
that bad.
She'd be like, she would be like,
this is really good. No, this is really good.
She'd be like, okay. Well, we need to do X, Y, and Z first, and then we'll go to the hospital, like, and then we can go.
And
this is how cult leaders get their people in too. So there's some skill
there. It works. So I can't blame anyone who's fallen for it, because it worked to a point. Then Jen kind of caught on, like toward the tail end. She was like, I know what you're doing.
I know what you're doing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
That's great. So last point on that. So I have to imagine that because they are just walking away to have, and I quote you, like a sandwich, they do this every week, every other week, and they've been doing it for years, if not like at least over a decade. So this is not like your wife screamed bloody murder to them is just like a normal melody.
Yeah. Jenny never really she never screamed necessarily, and she never like yelled at him. But it's just like it's whenever when you're competing in team fitness, and you're super exhausted, sometimes the way you communicate comes off like it sounds like you're angry, or it sounds like you're yelling,
right?
But you're just like it's like the only way that you can communicate in the midst of a really intense situation, just to like get something out real quick. And to someone who's never experienced that, they may be offended by that, or think that one is angry. But like you said, they've seen hundreds and hundreds and thousands of births and birthing mothers, and it'd be really hard to hurt their feelings. But yeah, Jen never like yelled at him or anything. Our assistant midwife, we were her 200th birth, so she had to be present and participate and assist in 200 births before she could even get her midwifery license.
Oh, so 200 is the magic birth.
Magic number.
Okay.
So
that's a lot of experience.
That's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Which that makes me feel really good. I feel like it should be a lot, and that's a good standard.
It is. So actually, before we get going, so Sam, this is Dustin. Dustin, this is Sam. So Dustin was my
I know
peer.
who Sam is.
Yeah, well, of course you know who Sam is. Everyone knows who Sam is. Everyone knows he's a man. So awesome. So he was at JBLM. He was the base lead strength coach for there when I was at Fort Knox, and the base lead strength coach there working with the DOD.
Oh,
so that's how we kind of linked up. Yeah, it was interesting, was it not, Dustin? It was a good time.
Yeah. We won't delve into that, but yeah, it was
no.
interesting. It was
that's a deep hole we don't want to get into. But
unlike any other strength and conditioning setting that I've been in, for sure.
The stress level is much higher.
We'll get to talking a little bit about. I'm starting to get into like the tactical games.
Okay. All right.
And I used to be very anti-gun a couple years ago, and now in hindsight I understand why. It was just because I was ignorant and untrained, and I wasn't understanding of even like why it would even be important for everyone to own a gun and to be trained at how to use it. So I just like, and when we don't know really anything about something, we tend to kind of reject it and get that away from me. And they just scared the shit out of me, really. And that goes back to your training too. If you're untrained with a firearm, no wonder it terrifies you. So like they could nearly almost bring me to tears, or like an anxiety attack. They would scare me so much. But so talk about some of that too, maybe.
Well, no, I don't care.
We could.
We're gonna dive into that right now.
And having babies or guns, or I don't know. Talk about anything.
No, this is why I was so excited for Sam, because we got a lot of similar life things transpiring simultaneously.
I already told him, I was like, his wife just birthed twins, so he's gonna be a little behind.
Yeah. Luckily, she pulled off the master double feeding this morning. It's like the Obi-Wan Kenobi of breastfeeding, to be able to do them simultaneously without like having a toddler sneak in and rob. Yeah, because you always, Hadley's a bit of a terrorist. She's always plotting a scheme when she knows there's milking going on. She's coming in for the liquid gold if she can sneak attack. So
I was saying we're terrified that we might have twins. Friends of ours are praying for it, and it's genetically a potential with Jenny's family. So that scares me.
That's how it works too. It's on the mom's side. So if the mom has twins, that's where it'll likely. I mean, we have it on both. I have it on my side and my wife's. But yeah, if your wife has it, that's when you really run the risk. So I'll be praying for you.
Yeah, thank you.
The full risk analysis.
Seriously, I almost I didn't almost hit my friend, but like a buddy of mine said that he's praying that we have twins, and I was like, why would you do that?
How dare you? The audacity.
Yeah. I was like, if you would have said that 10 years ago, I might have tackled you.
Yeah.
Think about it though. Think about the simultaneous training studies you can do watching them grow up and really get some sound evidence of whether they respond to a certain type of training or not. I have all kinds of crazy ideas conjured up in my head at this point that I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun.
Also,
fun things to do.
Good science project. A lot of data points.
Dustin, you talking about like the Adolf Hitler twin obsession? Like if I put one to max eccentric, if I go to like a max
see, that's
eccentric,
why.
No.
That's why,
hear me out.
That's why you really run the risk
phase.
of bringing this up.
Will it translate to the other one? Kind of like cross education. When you have one limb that's down, does it translate to the other one? Yeah.
Yeah. Because you would assume that well, we just did the test yesterday, actually, if they're identical, because they look identical, but you don't know unless you do the test, because you can look very similar and not be identical twins. And they look close enough that I still can't tell them apart. So we did the test, but you do wonder, because obviously everyone's read a little bit about twins or something, how they can be raised in different families and still end up having all these things that are so similar or end up doing similar things in life. So I don't know. I'm super excited once I catch up on sleep to watch them evolve together and see how they interact.
Right.
Oh shit. Speaking of sleep, I got the old Baby Wise book right here. This is a little outdated, but it seems like the new hip thing is taking care of babies. But if you haven't read that, make sure you do.
You got to take care of yourself.
Show the screen one more time, Sam.
Yeah. So this, like I said, it's a little outdated. This is Baby Wise.
Oh, okay.
And it's basically just on wake windows, and when you take your naps and when you feed, but taking care of babies is the more kind of modern version. It seems to be a little bit more practical and has a little bit more kind of problem solving integrated into the lesson plans. But Baby Wise is the original kind of pioneer in regards to sleep training.
Okay. Do you think that translates over to the adult life?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm yes, being lazy, but at the same time, if you're a hard athlete, like you are, and you train that much, are there aspects you could pluck from that to apply to an athletic standpoint?
Yeah, it's been incredible how often I've correlated performance or growing muscles to a baby. It's amazing. It really is. It's been very affirming to see what allows this baby child to thrive. And you have lots of aha moments, things that are already fairly integrated into our lifestyle and our training style, but you see what's working for this little child, and you have a lot of aha moments with whether it be how long they're sleeping, how long they're awake, when they're taking naps, how much they're eating, what they're eating, and how their mood correlates to those things, and their bowel movements, and it gets you. It kind of gets you back to the fundamentals and the foundations of and the importance of having good bowel movements, eating eating frequently, eating clean, and how that sets you up really well for good sleep and being in a good mood. And like they have no ego to filter their feelings. So you get a really real, raw, real time expression as to how things are working. So if they're working well, they're laughing, they're awake and they're playful. And if things aren't going well, then they're cranky, they're crying, and they're backed up. And so it's been really good to see some of those things and help kind of validate what we have been doing within our lifestyles and our training styles, or maybe what we haven't been doing, so that we can thrive.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's super awesome. It is unbelievable when you start watching a child grow up like that, and they get into a routine, or you miss something, or they eat something out of the ordinary, or they don't get any kind of exercise for the day, and you watch how that unravels. And I think a lot of parents, I mean, it's unfortunate, but I've seen it happen a lot. I also come from a big family. People make up excuses of like why their kids misbehaving or why this is wrong. And it's like, no. There's a real tangible reason why that's an issue right now. And I mean, you're not always in the position to like say something, or if you should, but you know, from the outside in, before you're a parent, you're like, oh, maybe they just have a kid with some issues. And I do not look at things like that at all anymore. It's like, no, we're going for a walk. No, we're going to like, oh, you haven't eaten for the last 4 hours. I want to say it's simple. It's not, and it takes a lot of work, but it's unbelievable. If you're, I mean, this is a key point too. I think this also speaks to the level of parent you are and how much attention you're paying, because you've gathered that information. And I think a lot of parents, they wouldn't say what you're saying right now, because you have to be a really active parent paying attention to gather all that information. Yeah, you can't think gathering that knowledge. And if kids are at daycare or whatever it might be, and that's who's raising them, you won't collect all that information and see what's going on. But yeah, no, it's like, it's mind blowing to kind of watch those things transpire, and then just see how to take care of a human. Cause that's what that's what we're getting at, taking care of a human. And it makes you really take, I know that, for the longest time been super healthy, but man, did I start to take this even deeper look at like what I'm putting in my body all the time. Even like, you know, I'll have cheat meals or eat something that I'm like, I don't actually want to put that on my body, but I know it's going to taste good. But then I'm like, shit, I'm definitely not putting it in my kid. Definitely not. It just, you have these weird things that pop up. So yeah, no, it's amazing.
Well, and it's for us too. It's, there's almost no more bullshitting between Jen and I, because you see within your child that when you're executing well and you're doing things right, the baby's doing well. And when you're not, the baby's not. So same with us. So if I'm being some cranky dickhead, like it's something that's within my control. I probably just haven't eaten within the last 3 to 4 hours, or, you know, maybe I overslept, or maybe I went to bed too tired, or just little things, and how they can transpire into how we are, how we're acting and emoting our feelings, and how we're communicating. And now we can kind of laugh at it though. So when one of us is kind of being a jerk, you're like, yo, do you need to poop?
Yeah.
Like, do you need some food? Or do you need a little nap?
Yeah. I mean, but it's healthy. Like once you get to that level, man, does life get a lot better? Because if you're pretending like there isn't a problem, or that it isn't a correctable thing, or like it's just everything's just getting too much and it's beating you down, like that's an unproductive state to be in. So once you get to that point where you're at now, which, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it took Brianna and I to get there with with Hadley. I mean, it was a year of relearning to communicate. I mean, a solid year of like, man, this was really easy to communicate, you know, these issues when it was just us, but now you throw another little human in the mix. It's like, we got to relearn, retool. I mean,
Yep.
you got to learn new strategies. You have to evolve, or it just breaks down, and it'll break down to the point where, I mean, that's why they tell people, like, don't make any major decisions in the first year of having a child. And like, one of those things that like just flies over your head until you have a child, and you're like, okay, I get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And that's, dude, I'm so fortunate and blessed that we've had the experiences that we've had as professional athletes, and understanding how our bodies work, and how to basically just learn how to thrive physically, and how that is translated over into being parents, and growing a baby, and nurturing and raising one. It's been a really, really enjoyable, smooth process for us because of that experience. And it kind of angers me that we don't have some sort of formal education to help, to, like, if people understood, and it's simple stuff, in practice, but implementing it when you're 35, 40 years old, and you have all these bad habits, it can be a really tumultuous journey to implement some of these simple things, and integrate them into your lifestyles when you're kind of that far along. And gosh, I just think about how much of an advantage we would create for not just parents, but just people in general, mentally, physically, and spiritually, if we truly educated them. The thing is, it's become too dogmatic, and there's too many beliefs in regards to what is the truth when it comes to nurturing our mind, body, and soul. But gosh damn, if we could help people understand that, like, if you ate like you lived on a farm, and you were prepared to eat, and you didn't choose crappy food, and you drank enough filtered water, and you went to bed on a cyclical cycle, and you stayed off your phone, and there's just these little things, and how that gives your consciousness the room to do good business and a space to do good business, and you're not freaking out all the time, and you're not like having to work through anxiety and depression and an achy body. Like, that would be miserable and very difficult to navigate your life if you have all those freaking roadblocks, and constantly having to try to figure your life out with crap like that. And we could just completely mitigate it. It could be gone, like, for everyone. It works. I feel like I've cracked the code on wellness. Unfortunately, it took a health crisis for me to really wake up to the nature of what wellness is. I understood fitness, but you can be really fit and not be well. I'm living proof of that. I always gauged what I thought was my health based off of my fitness. And if I looked good, if I had a six pack and I could run a 5:30 mile, I was healthy. And that's just not the case. So it took a health crisis kind of back in 2018. Well, a couple of them. It was a little laddering deal where I'd like learn my lesson and move up the rung, and learn my lesson and move up the rung. But had some early on after my collegiate football career, and then most recently back in like 2018, I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's, and got my blood work done, and my wife had more testosterone than I did. So that was really eye-opening, and after that, and I was able to restore my testosterone and treat my Hashimoto's naturally. I was like, okay, all right, I get it now. I've cracked the code on what holistic wellness is. And if I would love, and that's what I teach now, and that's what I'm able to give to people. And gosh damn, if we had this integrated into our elementary schools or high school, man, a lot of people wouldn't have to suffer.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, I've caught myself saying that exact same thing multiple times because yeah, you feel deprived because it's not like you're presenting high level concepts that a high school or even an elementary school kid couldn't start to internalize and learn those skills and then rely on them when it actually comes later in life. I mean, obviously, you know, you and your wife's experience of being high level athletes and suffering at that level, having life experiences, that gives you this foundation of being able to deal with a much higher level of stress. And then, you know, you go through the process that you've went through. And now you own the understanding of wellness. It's not like you read it in a book, because that's the weird thing here is the ideas that, you know, you've kind of come across on your own, figuring it out. You could read it in a book, but you wouldn't have the same level of ownership over those concepts and wouldn't believe it to your core and be able to promote it the way you do, I think. So that's one of those things I struggle with is, you know, presenting that information and people to really believe it. Like, you believe it to the level you do and you understand it that way because you own that knowledge. Nobody gave it to you. It didn't necessarily come straight from a book or anything. All your experiences led you to understanding it. And then it's, I don't know, it's up to you and people like you to be able to impart that on people and help better their lives. So, I mean, it's super awesome, but it is a challenge because it does make you wonder, like, would I have gathered all of this if I didn't go through this, you know, climb out of these pits of hell at points in my life and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm thankful for those. Literally any health crisis, any injury, every single thing like that I've ever experienced, and I've experienced a lot of them. There was a point in my life where I always felt I was the victim, you know, where maybe I'd break my leg or something. I'd be like, why me? Like, doing everything right. Why would I break why should I be the one that has the broken leg? And then it turned into like a what? And what now? Like, what did I do to earn this? And what am I going to do to make sure that I reduce the probability of something like this ever happening again? And every single time I came out of any of those health crises or injuries, a better man mentally, physically, and spiritually, every time. Yeah. So I don't want to say like I'm welcoming it. Like,
no.
No.
Yeah, I want that. I need broke again. Dang it.
I mean, I think it changes your perspective though. Now you see things as a challenge to be overcome, as opposed to, you know, without being cliche, this is something that's going to defeat me. I think after you have some successes like that with things, you're just rewired. You see things in a different light. You just know that, you know,
what do I have to learn from this?
What do you have to learn? And I think that's one of those things. Yes. What do you have to learn? You look at things through that scope. And you definitely don't, it's exactly what you said. You're not just wired. I mean, maybe there are some people like that, but, that's something that I think is kind of comes with age and active life experience, that you start to see things like that. And then you approach things in a different light. But man, it's a much more powerful state to be in when you look at trouble and problems like that, as opposed to, you know, like you said, where you're coming from, you know, when you're younger and you look at things as the victim, and then you reflect on that and realize like that is such a, you know,
disempowering point of view. 100%.
That's it.
No, and I think I haven't had any major injuries, like knock on wood, but every time I have a significant like nick or knack or, you know, pop, you know, muscle fibers, and it derails me for a significant amount of time, I always come out on the other end knowing more and being able to take that and actually relay it to other people so they don't run into the same issues. Like, Sam, do you run into that as well?
Yeah, of course. You know, they've been the greatest teachers that I've ever had, and I'm able to help now through those experiences and understanding and wisdom that I've gained from those pain teachers, if you will. I'm able to help maybe cut someone off and help them detour and go down a different path that looks less destructive, so they don't have to, because I do not believe that you have to experience these horrific, cataclysmic physical pain experiences to be able to grow into an enlightened, understanding individual. By no means. I would prefer that you don't have to hurt yourself to learn how to nurture yourself. But because I'm it's just kind of my personality type. I'm just go a little hard sometimes, and through that, but I believe I've been equipped with that type of personality so that I can disciple others and minister to others and help teach them how to avoid pain. I don't want to say avoid pain, because that would
just process
be a really benign, dull life if we only felt good or joy all the time. There would be no polarity to even understand what we're experiencing. So I mean, pain's a necessary part of life that makes the other side so joyful. But I just through those experiences, I'm much more equipped to be the teacher I am and the educator that I am within my gym or my seminars or my corporate wellness, whatever it may be. I'm able to help guide people much more elegantly, and be real with them too. Sometimes I find that a lot of people have this kind of it's like this dick measuring contest with like, you don't understand my pain. And it's like, bro, I do. I've been there, man. I've hurt really, really bad. And when people can, when you can empathize like that and you don't have to have experienced something super shitty to be compassionate and empathetic towards somebody's experiences, but it does help significantly when trying to connect and bridge the gap between you and that individual when you're trying to nurture them out of a crappy situation, when you can say like, yo, I've been there, dude, or like, so
I mean, talk about this, maybe it's not really a hard left turn, but it's a slight fork in the road, if you will, to the slight left. I asked, you sent me like a quick list of like top 3 athletic achievements, and there was one on there. Was it the broken fibula one?
Yeah.
It was the 10K?
Yeah. No, the 10K
that was the barefoot trail run.
The barefoot trail run, which is probably one of my favorite athletic accomplishments of all time.
Okay, why?
I learned so much from it, and I learned about the power of our feet, and it makes sense now in hindsight, but I never really grasped the importance of it beforehand. But it makes total sense. I mean, it all starts in our feet. It's what connects us to the ground. So if your feet are weak, then kind of in theory everything else is weak, because you are really only as strong as your weakest link. And in an era of overly padded shoes and misshaped shoes, we've really done a disservice to our humanness and our ability to perform at high levels when we've packaged our feet up in such I don't even know what the word is, but I think you kind of get what I'm saying. And I learned it so much in my back. Like, I wasn't walking around like in pain or anything like that, but I had a lot of, you do experience kind of aches and pains when you're training really vigorously. And I had a lot of that go away. Like no more knee pain, aches, or my ankles stopped bothering me, low back stuff. So now if I ever notice something kind of creeping in and maybe like my back just feels a little weird or my knees have been kind of achy, kick the shoes off, go barefoot for a little bit, and gone. So I spent a year barefoot, completely barefoot. And that meant getting kicked out of places and not being allowed into places. And I was okay with that. I'd never got mad at people for not letting me into their restaurant for not having shoes. So I understood what was going to come with that territory. And spent the year barefoot, airports, bar, like anything. I did not wear shoes. And trained barefoot, did all my running barefoot, all my weightlifting barefoot. And this was a progressive thing. I didn't just start running 10K
cold turkey, just go hard.
So, yeah. And I wouldn't recommend that to anyone either. You could do some serious damage to yourself. And that would potentially set you back quite a bit. But yeah, man, it made me so much stronger. It made me so much healthier. And it made me a really, really savage runner. Like I would be willing to go out and say that I was at that point one of the best runners in the world at my body weight. Probably weighing like 235 pounds.
A man's weight, yeah.
Running 5:20 miles, 18 minute 30-second 5Ks, really, really, really competitive running performances at the body weight that I was at. So I'm not saying it super arrogantly. I'm saying it as a testament to the power of our feet. So I'm not trying to boast and brag about it. But what I am trying to boast about is the effectiveness of taking your shoes off a little bit and training your bare feet. It'd be like taking your knee sleeves off or your wrist wraps off. Sometimes we rely too heavily on these supportive tools like the bands and the wraps and the sleeves and the super padded shoes. And it's funny, man, if you I do this at my seminars sometimes, have someone do a rebounding box jump, take their shoes off, and they won't do it. They are terrified of it. They will not. They will try it. They will be like, okay, I'll try it. But then they get up they do the first box jump and they get ready to go rebound, and their mind and body won't let them do it. They just they won't come back down to even attempt it. And it goes to show you. It's like even it's like comparing rugby to football or something. They just they hit differently. They do you do things differently when you're not wearing protective equipment, and you end up doing things really in an unnatural way when you start over protecting and padding and supporting the body. So I'm not against those. I still wear knee sleeves and stuff, especially when I'm doing real big lifts. But I've ditched a lot of that stuff. It helps me stay a little bit more in touch with my needs too, because you're able to kind of bypass a lot of signals that you would be receiving, and to help you better understand where your insufficiencies are or where your imbalances are, and it allows you to better train yourself out of those.
Do you think, looking back at that year at your peak, if you had a pair of shoes that you liked and weren't overly padded or weren't false, and you put them on, would you feel superhuman?
So I did. When I would put shoes on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. When I would go put shoes on, it was more so after that, because I wasn't wearing shoes during that time. But when I when I put shoes on, I still kept the barefoot thing going. Like, and I still to this day will train it. I'm about to move out to San Diego again to start training, and a good majority of my training will be barefoot. Not all of it. It's kind of like nose breathing. I nose breathe for a lot of my workouts, but it's important for me to open up all the valves and get some a very high respiratory rate, like mouth breathing training in. And when I do that, when I open my mouth, I feel like a superhuman. And same thing when I put some shoes on, it's like, oh boy, dude, I was competing. I competed in a when was that? Maybe 2019. There was a swim run event at Granite Games, and I did that. I did the second leg of that barefoot, and I think I got like maybe 3rd or 5th overall out of like thousands of athletes. But it was really fun. It was on accident. We did the run, got to the swimming section, did the swim, and got out, and I couldn't find my shoes. I'm legally blind, by the way. So
I mean, there's also 2,000 shoes laying on the ground, I'm guessing, too.
Yes. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shoes everywhere. And I get out and I'm like, dude, no way am I gonna find my shoes in this. And I just took off, and I ran the rest of it barefoot, and probably honestly saved a good 60, 70, 80 seconds not putting my shoes on. And I remember seeing athletes like even Chandler Smith, I think he got dusted. But you know, some very high level athletes in some prime shape that I was out running barefoot.
That is a fantastic story for several reasons. Just because the other thing too is, had you done that as a strategy, just to be like, oh no, I'm ditching my shoes, because I have to imagine there was some good athletes that got to that position where like, no, I'm finding my shoes. Like, it was no question. Like, they were going to find their shoes, put them on, and finish that race, as opposed to you had this other tool in the back of your head, which is like, I could find him. I could find if I wanted to, but I don't have to now. So you now have this, you know, you have another tool in your tool belt to adapt. That's really awesome.
Yeah. And you're right. It is cool to know that, like, and I knew right in that moment, I was like, I don't need shoes.
Right.
I could run 10,000 meters without shoes, no problem. And so of course I'll be able to run a 5K. And pretty cool.
Okay.
I like that.
So soon you're going to move back to San Diego. Now, is this going to be for another like handful of months?
Yeah, 3 months.
Okay, 3 months. This is just to train at Invictus, I'm guessing.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's part of it. A big part of it too is just like, it's really hard to, I almost have to become like a different person in a way, like, and getting away from the gym, my gym, my operation here. It's hard not to be a gym and a coach when I'm at my gym, even 100%. If I'm training full time and I'm not even on the schedule. Like you end up taking up, people take up a lot of my time here. That's strategic. I want to help people. That's why I own this gym. And I'm here to be of service. But there's only so many hours and minutes in the day that you have to get your stuff done. So if I'm going to be serving myself, I kind of have to remove myself from being of service to others, and to get my work done at the rate and that I need to accomplish the things that I want to do. And some people might not have to do that, but I'm not as, I don't feel like I'm as genetically gifted and physically gifted as some of the other athletes are. And that's not to take anything away from them and the work that they put in. But just being a larger man It takes a significant amount of work for me to get myself in the type of physical shape that I need to be in to be able to stand on a podium. I'm sure there's some athletes that they can for them, they can run their gym and run their online program and coach and train and get to the podium or whatever. But I'm not as genetically and physically gifted as some people might think, especially compared to the high level athletes. So I really have to go all in and get really dialed in, and it was kind of been hard for me over the years to do that, because I have to completely remove myself from every other aspect of my life, and it feels really selfish to me, because I wear a lot of hats here, and we run a non-for-profit. I do my seminars, I coach classes, consult with clients one-on-one, and I can't really do any of those things if I'm going to if I have a goal of standing on the podium. It's kind of emotionally, it was hard for me to wrestle with that early on in my career. So now I've kind of changed my perspective on it, and I just 3 months out of the year, sometimes a little bit more, but I feel like I'm able to justify that. I just, the rest of the year is pretty much like an off season to me, and I'm able to do all the other awesome, fun things I get to do. And then 3 months out of the year it's my time.
Right.
And I completely focus on myself, and the day is mine, and I get after it.
No, that completely changes the way you look at a day when you're in that situation. Like that's a very Rocky IV scenario, but you're in San Diego, you're not in Siberia. Like it's very like you have one goal. Yeah, dude, 100%. Like I have a gym here, and same thing. I walk into it, and it doesn't matter if I'm just training myself. You can't turn it off. Like that needs to be maintenance. You can't.
I can't help it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I can't help it. I'm like,
yep.
That bike is dusty.
Or right.
That bolt needs to be tightened, or gosh, the kettlebells aren't, in good order. Like, and that person needs help. Like they're gonna hurt themselves.
Right.
And it's nonstop. And I would literally, I wouldn't get the things done that I need to get done to do the things that I want to accomplish. And I could probably still do it, and I don't know.
It wouldn't be the same.
Once you wear the hat of being a servant warrior like that, you can't turn it off. And I think it just speaks to your maturity and figuring out yourself, knowing if you want to do the job that's going to make you most proud and be the best you can be on that day. I think you have to go to the lengths that you're going, and I completely understand that. But you just have those conversations and set it up so you can do exactly what you're doing, so that the rest of your life, the rest of the year is in balance, and this is what it takes for me. I think the bigger thing there, because I totally understand that, is the mental state that I have to be in. It's not necessarily the physical gifts or what it might be. I'm not a multitasker necessarily. Like I can do a few things, but when I have one goal, I'm no longer a multitasker. Otherwise, I'm going to pull from that goal, especially once you get to the point where you're at, where you're in a position of just giving of yourself constantly. You'll never shut it off, because that's who you are. And if you know that about yourself, you have to do what you're doing, I think. So
and I've gotten, like I said, and you guys already mentioned it too. It's this way I'm able to sleep at night, where before it was really hard for me to live with myself. It didn't feel right.
Yeah.
It didn't feel right. And I felt like I was leaving people behind and abandoning, my roles as this, and this, and this way, 9 months out of the year, I'll send it just as hard as I'm sending it in that 3 months, but and being of service and running the gym and doing non-for-profit and setting up fundraisers and doing seminars and all that stuff. And I'm able to sleep well at night and know that, like, all right, I'm giving it everything that I got in these certain time frames, and I'm able to, everything's able to thrive when I kind of keep it in that kind of rotation.
Okay.
Awesome.
So you go out there for 3+ months. What I'm guessing is, are you letting CJ write your programming, or are you just going there for the environment to be isolated?
It's more so the environment and the isolation. I still consult with CJ and Tino, and I will still join in on a couple of workouts with the group, but it's majority for the isolation. And I've been working with CJ and Tino for, oh my gosh, 6, 7, oh man,
it's been a minute
years,
now.
Maybe,
yeah, it's
maybe more. And it's I like programming for myself. I like it. I'm an artistic guy, and I like being creative with that and coming up with unique and novel solutions to my fitness, and really nobody knows me better than me. But it's still nice to have people to be real with you and to tell me, like, I need to be doing more handstand push-ups, or like, hey, look, you're avoiding these things, and just let me know what they see and help just bounce ideas off of and stuff like that. And it's also nice to have athletes to chase out there. So, like, if I'm doing a running day, I can go there's this girl, Emily Lugman, Emily Rethwell now, but Holden Rethwell was an old teammate of mine, and his wife is one of the greatest runners I've ever seen. And so if I'm gonna go run, I can go chase Emily on the beach. If I'm gonna do some gymnastics muscle up workout, I can cherry pick basically the athletes who I know are gonna kick my ass or push me, so that I know where I stand and what I need to do to close the gap between me and another professional.
Yeah. So when you're writing your own programming, do you have like one day?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay. Do you have like one day or several parts in the week where, like, I am absolutely god awful at this, so this is gonna be my number one priority? Or how do you work in those? Like you already said it, like, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So where in that programming do you insert that?
So I train real similar to like a kind of like a bodybuilder. I keep, and it gets compressed in my competitive season. But, like, say for instance, right now, even here at the gym, and I train 1 hour a day right now. And I do kind of like a bodybuilder style split. I've kind of mixed bodybuilding and powerlifting and CrossFit together. And I do, like, this isn't exactly how it is, but for instance, it looks like legs on Monday, chest on Tuesday, low back on Wednesday, upper back on Thursday, arms and shoulders on Friday, and yeah. So say for instance, I need to accumulate a minimum of, and I've kind of figured this out and stuff, but just going to make up some kind of random numbers, but I need to be accumulating like a minimum of 200 strict handstand push-ups a week to be at the level that I need to be competitively. And I'm using that example because it's something I avoid a lot. It's more so has to do with my values of wellness than it does like an avoidance or something like that.
Sure.
I don't like avoid it because I'm bad at it. I played football my whole life. I'm kind of over feeling like trash. And resting 235 pounds on your head and neck, and just compressing your neck like that is just something I don't. It's one of the few things in CrossFit that I'm like, I wish they just. I'm all for the handstand walking and the obstacles and stuff, but there hasn't been many times that I've done a kipping handstand push-up that I haven't, or even other athletes. But you could ask the whole field. I bet even the people who are really good at handstand push-ups, they'd probably be like, "Yo, my neck feels like trash after I do a bunch of parallel kipping handstand push-ups in a competition." So I just don't think that like that type of movement should be in the racing of fitness. And kipping dips too. I've torn both of my pecs, and both of them have been doing kipping dips.
Was it real quick before you continue? I got to ask, those kipping dips, was that during that regional event where the rings were?
Yep. That was
like 6 people did it.
They were like 6 inches.
No,
that was
like 36 people.
No, there was. Dust.
They didn't put that on mainstream news. They didn't. You had to dig for it. I think.
Yeah, there was a lot of. I'm sorry. Please continue. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I think even like a couple girls did it, which is like.
Yeah, you're right.
Mind blowing to me. Like, I mean, you guys know enough about like strength training and the differences between guys and girls, and pressing is like one of the few things where girls just do not match up with men. Like it's not even close.
Yeah, the body
everything else.
Yeah.
Yep. Everything else, like women proportionately on back squats and deadlifts and everything else. Like everything else. It's like it's spot on. But when it comes to like a bench press or like just really the pressing, it just doesn't match up at all. And I'm pretty sure, I don't quote me on this, but I think there might have been a couple of girls who got tore up on that, which it doesn't even seem physiologically impossible to do, and they did it. And then I did it again. Oh my gosh. Ever since that day, I made an agreement with myself that I would never do a kipping dip again. Never. It was all my dips were going to be strict for the rest of my life. Even if it came up in a competition, I would do strict dips and I would take my loss just to keep myself healthy, because you can't compete if you're not healthy.
If you're broke,
right.
So competition comes up.
Sure does.
We got a chance.
Sure does.
We got a chance to win and make some good money. And the last workout had dips in it, and I even before I told myself, you're not going to kip any of these dips. Like, we have the ability to win this, even if I didn't participate in any of the dips and I let my teammates do them all.
Oh, really?
We still had the ability to win the event. No problem. Right. And just egomaniac, man, just got out there, and I like could not help. It was like a golden retriever seeing a ball. I just like turned into a psycho, and I got maybe 3 or 4 in and just felt my pec just unzip.
Oh.
And yeah, dude, it was devastating. I was like so upset with myself for doing that, and just like going against what I had established as I would never do. So yeah, learned my lesson twice. And I wasn't the only one. I think there was maybe 4 other people there at a fairly, decent sized team competition. And, and my initial reaction was like, oh, dude, like, why would anyone program this? Like, idiot. Yeah. But like, look at me, I'm the idiot. Like, look, I'm the one doing it. So
when you had a strategy, you had a strategy. I mean, that's the tough thing. You can't turn it off sometimes.
No.
It's hard. It's hard, dude. You just, like I said, like a golden retriever with that ball, dude. I just like, I turn into like a psycho, and I just like.
I mean, that's a double-edged sword because that's the best thing too. You want to be able to turn that on. You don't want to not have that in your toolbox, but yeah, man, trying to manage it in those situations is not an easy task.
Yeah.
No. So I'm still learning, guys.
Oh no, everyone is.
Really so.
No one knows everything. So that was a team competition, and I know that you played football your whole life, so you're a big team man. So you're talking about, again, I keep going back to it, but going out to San Diego to prep out and stand on a podium. Is this a podium with a team, or is this a podium with an individual, or is this like you're keeping on the down
individual? Yeah,
okay.
Masters.
Okay.
So yeah, my goal is to win the 35 to 39-year-old Masters division. I'm trying really hard. It's kind of like the dips, and not kipping them and making it, just like establishing it and saying like I'm not gonna ever kip a dip again. So I'm trying really hard to establish that I'm going Masters, and that's just what it is. But I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like a little afraid that if I get as fit as I need to be to win the Masters, I'm probably going to be as fit as I need to be to go individually, and be pretty competitive there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really great athletes out there that you could, I've wanted to beat Rich so bad in the team competition, and we worked so hard at that in 2018, and still came up fairly short. I always say whoever gets first made 0 to 1 mistakes. Whoever got second made 2 mistakes. Whoever got third made 3 mistakes. And we had two bad workouts, 2 bonehead workouts. And it was really, just really hard to recover from that. Point wise, it wasn't a huge margin. I want to say it was like probably 50, 60 points. It's within reasonable striking distance, but like you have to be able to execute perfectly on every single workout if you're going to beat Rich and his team.
Yeah.
But the athletes are there. The athletes are 100% there out in Invictus, that if you were able to put that team together and execute perfectly, you have to be perfect. Yep. You could do it. You could upset the greatest team of all time. It's easier said than done.
Well, would you, if that came up at Invictus, would you pull a Ross? Would you pull a Friends? Would you pivot and really pivot hard and go to team?
Man.
Yes.
I really don't know.
Are you sure you don't know?
I
kip your dips again.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
You have someone who can kip them for you. And that way you can just do all the man stuff, like deadlifting 600 pounds.
Based off of what you just told us, you would definitely do that.
That's it. There we go. That's it. He's congruent.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Call Rich. Tell him the game's on.
Yeah, it would just have to be the right, the perfect recipe, and I wouldn't accept anything less. Like if it's just like so I would say that there's possibility for it, but if there's even just one athlete who's not 110% in, I don't care how good they are, or if they're just like, if I see, I've been on a good amount of teams and have competed quite a bit on teams, and you can kind of tell if people are willing to put aside their differences to die for each other for points. You can kind of sense that. And I've been on 2 teams where, and actually they're both got second at the game. Where they're not everyone got along, but like we would send it for each other out on the field for the most part. I definitely think that with our team in 2014, and 2018, there was an instance where I asked one of the, I don't know if it was me or my wife. I think it was my wife, actually. We're like, yo, you need to do this. And there was like a, no, I'm not doing that. And it's like, yo, like when I say you do this, you have to go do that. And because it's not about you potentially embarrassing yourself. It's about our team, putting ourselves where we need to be able to execute this in a way that's going to allow us with enough points that we can stand on the podium. So, and just it's just those little moments, just those little moments that separate you from first and second. And the talent was there. Talent was completely there. But we didn't execute perfectly, and we weren't totally cohesive, and it was a phenomenal team. It was a really, really, really good team. But man, and now I have some of that understanding, I feel like I'm a little bit better at being able to sniff it out and know if it's real, to really, really, know whether or not these are the type of people that would be able to compete against Rich's team. So, and it would have to be, literally all the stars would have to align. And so I don't rule it out, but I find it a little unlikely to. It's not easy to run across 4 people, who, one, are athletically gifted enough, and 2, willing to put in the work, and 3, get along with 3 other people, and literally do anything for those other people, so that you can win points.
Yeah, I think it's funny. You mentioned, you alluded to this multiple times, and I call it the skill versus will. Like, at the end of the day, I would have someone who has the will versus the
That's
skill.
my wife. That's my wife. She is the best teammate I've ever had. She's not the most talented teammate I've ever had. Not even close.
Don't tell her that.
Well, she knows it.
Right.
She knows it. She literally wills W's, man. I've watched it. I've watched it for years and years and years. And she has some physical limitations. Like, she has a completely separated shoulder, and she's had 3 ACL reconstructions. So she doesn't do great with squatting, and she has a tough time supporting things overhead. But because of her willpower, she's oftentimes better than other people who are more physically equipped. So yeah, I would take someone like that over someone who is more physically adapted to perform than my wife. But she literally wills W's, dude.
You podiumed with her twice.
Incredible. Podium with her twice, dude, and she's made some pretty good runs. And without even attempting, like, her glory days were over before she even started CrossFit. Like, she was literally one of the best soccer players on the planet of all time. She won. We were just going through her memorabilia yesterday to kind of condense it and move it into our new home. And she's literally one of the best soccer players of all time. And she got Citizen of the Year in Sweden. This is the same award that Nelson Mandela and Mother Teresa received. League MVP in the top league in Sweden, and lead scorer and lead assist. Like, she's done her thing, and she was good with what she achieved in her lifetime as a professional soccer player. And so she wasn't ever super like, I'm going to go to the games as an individual, but just with a fairly relaxed attitude. Had a couple times where she was just it was like one workout away from qualifying. And it would usually be something that, you know, like overhead squats are very, very tough for her. Again, just her shoulder's not connected. So, and like she has a tough time with maybe like pistols and stuff like that. 3 knee reconstructions, you know, things are a little taut in there. And so, but even with that, in a very competitive region, she was still very, very, and in some other regions, she would have qualified very easily. But yeah, so she's a stud, dude. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I would take someone who's got more will than has skill for the most part. You know, and she's a great example of that.
Okay. Did she train with you at Conjugate?
Yep.
When you were down there, so
yep.
what? So did you all meet there?
No, we met. We got married. That happened all really fast.
Okay.
So I was planning to go to Conjugate to train individually, and you know, I was strategically moving out there because I wanted, at that time, I wanted to win the CrossFit Games.
Well, naturally, yes.
And I think that's kind of the attitude you have to have if you even want to go participate there. And yeah, anything less, it won't. I don't know that it would be suffice to get you there. So you kind of have to have a winning mindset, I believe, to even qualify. And that's, at the time, that's where Rich was, Scott Panchik, Graham Holmberg, Dan Bailey.
That was a beast region.
The best. Yeah, it was the best. It was the
Central East.
best region.
Yeah,
best region in the world. So I was like, okay, like if I'm gonna win the CrossFit Games or go to the CrossFit Games, like I gotta be able to compete and go against the best. So let's move out there. Had a connection at Conjugate. My cousin Taylor Drusher was coaching out there, and she was about to leave for the military, and they had an open position. So I took that as a coach and planned on training individually. When I got there, we found out there were some pretty decent athletes. We were a little short on our roster, so we kind of had to go do some recruiting. Found what we needed, and was like, maybe let's go try to win the games as a team. And I have no problem saying that we were the best team in 2014.
Yes, you were. Yes.
We 100%, and the people that beat us are my good friends, CrossFit Invictus, and I have no problem looking CJ and any of those individuals in the eye and saying we were 100% better than you guys. We got screwed on our lane assignments. So what would happen was the way that the field was set up, and it was artificial, I think, field. It might have been. I don't know that it really matters. It's just, this is some science for people. The sun was hitting half of the field and not hitting the other half. So half of the field was really hot and half of the field was really cold. And friction creates heat, and heat creates friction. So we're the strongest team out there, hands down.
Bar none. Yes.
And we cannot move our sled at all. And there's teams on the other side of the field like Brick, who are, you know, Maddie Curley and JP, tiny humans.
Small people, yes.
And they are just pushing this sled nonstop across the turf. Easy peasy. And we cannot budge it. And we got that lane twice and got really, really, really bad scores, to the point where we were going to strategically, we had it all mapped out to where we knew exactly, because the lanes would go like one down here, or I'm just making this up, like one down here, two down here, three down here, 4 down here. So we had it figured out to where we would be willing to take a loss in a certain event so that we could get a certain lane assignment and on the field. Luckily, we didn't have to do that. But we had it all mapped out points wise so that we knew exactly where we needed to kind of put ourselves so that we could be on the right side of the field. So yeah, we got that through 2 out of the 3 sled field events. We got the shitty lane. And not good. But yeah, so we originally went out to Conjugate for me to train individually. Honestly, Jen had really little CrossFit experience. Me kind of too. I didn't have a ton of CrossFit experience, but Jen was still kind of figuring things out with CrossFit. But she was, being a professional athlete, she was able to pick things up rather quickly. Found some other phenomenal athletes. One of the best CrossFitters I've ever competed with, his name was Mark Nelson, but just like he wasn't super interested in like going super hard and training as an individual, but team was very, very fitting for him. And he couldn't swim. So I think that was like a big thing that kept him from ever wanting to really try to go individually. But he had the talent, the body shape that lends itself very well to, that it's just that stereotypical size CrossFit athlete, that maybe 195 pounds, 5'9", 10, perfect body fat percentage, the above average strength numbers, especially at that time. And but yeah, great athlete. Hunter Britt, who actually now works out at Invictus as a coach. He's been doing that for years. So yeah, so phenomenal athletes, and it was fun. It was a good time. That was back when it was 6 people.
Yeah, that was back. It was a full house. It was a full house. Actually,
wild.
It's funny. The first time I met you, I don't know if you remember this or not, I actually came down to Conjugate, talked to Shane for like an hour and a half. And so Dustin, the first time I saw this guy in Conjugate, at least at that time, there was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, there was like a giant wall, was powerlifting, and the other side was like the CrossFit area. So I go into the CrossFit area, I say hi to Laura, walking in the CrossFit area. And this guy, and of course he's already told you that he's not genetically gifted, whatever that means. So, but he's in the middle of the floor. He's got a running clock. I think it was you and one other. And it was like every 90 seconds. It may have been Imam, but I think it was every 90 seconds. And you had 2 plates and I think like a nickel and a dime on the bar. And this guy was doing snatch like doubles, full snatch doubles, like every 90 seconds. He got done like 2 or 3. You got up, you saw me talking to Shane, walked over to me, introduced yourself, talked to me, and then went back and did it again before the clock hit again. I don't know if was that a power move? I don't even know if you remember that. I think it was a power move.
That was a hard flex there, Joe. You got hard flexed on. That's what it looks like. And that's
let me
what
just show you what a man does with 245 pounds real quick. But I don't know if you remember that. That's the first time I remember like meeting you. And like I've seen you in like Westside a couple times since then. But like I don't think we talked at Westside, but that to me is like one of those things where did you come into that gym being able to do that? Being able to snatch 2 plates like on command, because like 2013, that's a big deal. Snatching 2 plates for a single is a big deal.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly I went from not being able to snatch like 135 to being able to snatch like 335. It happened really, really quickly.
All right.
I always kind of think it's funny. People show those videos of how it was, 10 years ago when they were snatching and how it's going now, and they're like a savage. And dude, I put so much work in from the ages of like 15 to 25, so for the past 10 years, even though I wasn't CrossFitting, I was very, very, very strong. And I know, back to your like genetics and stuff like that comment, like I understand that the genetic potential that I have, but it doesn't lend itself super well to CrossFit.
Yeah.
Again, I'm probably the biggest CrossFit athlete that's ever qualified as an individual. That would be my guess. And if not, top 3. I doubt there's been many 230-ish plus pound people competing individually at the CrossFit Games. So it's just, I don't have, you'd be much better off having like a Matt Fraser, Noah Olson kind of style physique. Like, it's not easy doing muscle ups with these legs, or running or whatever. So I get that I have genetic potential. It's not the type that would lend itself super well to the sport that I've decided to compete in. Maybe lends itself a little bit better to like strongman or football or something like that, but CrossFit, not as much. So nonetheless, but things took off at a very, very rapid. I was benching 500 pounds when I was like 16 years old.
I'm sorry, you were 16 years old benching 5 plates?
Yeah, like
was your butt on the bench?
Yeah, dude, I was a savage.
Oh wow, that's great.
And a lot of it came from, and if you get a little bit of the backstory, you could understand how someone would be able to do something like that. But I got viciously bullied in high school.
Okay.
And it was awful for me. Physically, beat up. I was spit on. I was pissed on.
You were spit on?
I was kicked. I was constantly being roughed up, and just I had 0 friends. And yeah, it was awful. So I thought to myself, I was like, man, like, if I just got big and strong, because I was already kind of a psycho, like on the football field, like I could hit really, really, really hard, and I wasn't even that big yet. But I was like, man, if I could get big and strong, like, nobody would mess with me, which is kind of true. And still to like this day, I always say I've never been in a fight, never had to. Yep. Usually just my physical presence, and I'm not saying this like super arrogantly, but usually just like big guy with muscles and tattoos, like usually people don't want to take their chances with that.
Right.
So most of the time I'm able to just talk my way out of things.
Yeah.
Which I prefer. I don't want to fight anyway. And was raised to not fight. That's not how I was taught to handle things. So also as a result of that, I internalized a lot, and was really sad and mad and depressed for a lot of my early high school years, and I channeled a lot of that into training, and I got really, really freakishly strong. And like in college, I was squatting around 700 for doubles and triples, and I was significantly larger though too. I was 270 pounds.
Okay.
So yeah, and we would do like these power scores and stuff, and like year after year, I was the fastest, strongest, most explosive athlete on the team at a Division I program. I didn't have a glamorous career on the field by any, like, there really was no career on the field for me. I was injured quite a bit. Yeah, so didn't really excel athletically in football, but I learned a lot about getting really fit and strong. I had a great strength and conditioning coach who had a West Side Conjugate style of training, so I was like constantly in the gym learning from him, and so that's how I kind of came to know like all about the conjugate method, and what also kind of helped like lead me towards moving to conjugate, moving to Ohio to train at Conjugate. So yeah, dude, pretty freakishly I do understand that there's some genetic. We have multiple generations of Division I athletes, and my brother he's a savage and was an amazing football player. My dad was an amazing football player. His dad was an amazing football player. So I understand that, like, I was gifted with great genetic potential, but even with or without that, I was putting in a significant amount of work at a very, very young age and was very motivated because I didn't want to get beat up and made fun of anymore. And channeled that into just training my ass off. And so when I got to learn about CrossFit, it was just kind of, I just had to practice some skills, and it went really, I remember not being able to snatch like 135, and literally like not much longer after that was snatching 315, 320, 330 pounds.
Oh, okay.
No problem. So I didn't really have that. I was trying to like go back and find some footage, of me like doing it really, like Tia's got great ones, or who else? Julie Fouché has some really good ones, and China Cho and Stacy Tober. They got great like videos of them failing snatch. Christian Harris is another good one. Got like videos of him failing like 95 pounds, and then like then snatching 300 plus years later. But it was there's not a lot of archive footage of me doing that because it really wasn't happening. I learned really quickly and was able to do some pretty freaky stuff right out of the gate, because again, I'd been training for 10 plus years before that. I wasn't specifically snatching, but I was doing the type of things that would, if you have a really big deadlift and a really big press and you have the mobility, like
it's going to happen.
Yes.
Who cares if you've never snatched? I could probably just muscle snatch what a competitive snatch was at the time. So yeah, I was able to pick up on that stuff rather quickly. That was a really long answer to your question.
No, I always tell people, like, if you ask me a question, I'm gonna give you a full answer. I'd rather have a full answer than a yes no. Yeah. I tell it to you all the time, don't I, Dustin?
Oh yeah, well, and that's a testament to. I mean, a lot of the stuff that Sam says, like, it resonates very strongly with me. I mean, he's also one of the reasons, like, when I was watching the games, it became a lot more interesting to me when I was like, oh, this makes sense. Like, this guy's, proportionally the size of me. I want to know what this actually looks like, because you didn't see that. You saw a lot of smaller, very strong, very dynamically fit individuals, but obviously I was biased because I was like, I want to see what it looks like to see a grown man do this and what kind of happens. And coming from a similar background, like, it's different. And it was much more interesting for me once I was like, this is appealing, or at least I want to see, like, I'm at least going to root for the guy, because I'm like, this makes sense. Because I can, when you're on the journey of watching some of this stuff, and when they start following athletes, it's definitely more engaging when you can kind of put yourself in that person's shoes. But like, kind of your background of laying that stuff out, you built this foundation of incredible strength. And there's a lot of talk of, is that going to translate over to what I'm doing in my sport or whatever it might be? And I know what it's like to, hey, I'm just going to humble myself with a bar and learn to snatch for 3 months. And then all of a sudden, all the strength that I built over a decade now gets to come into play, and it just boom. Once, I mean, for me, and you might've been similar, you do a lot of technique with a bar and some light weights, figure out you need to work on some mobility, and then, like, boom, all of a sudden putting 2 plates over your head happens pretty quickly. And it all came from deadlifting and just doing regular cleans and overhead presses and all that stuff. So I don't think people should be leery of developing those basic strength things and thinking that, oh, well, this isn't going to make me better at this later down the road. Like, it absolutely will. It absolutely will.
Yeah. My ability to do that was from getting a big deadlift, doing lots of bent over rows, high pulls, and being a strong presser. We were using, I'm sure you're familiar, you guys especially, with the bamboo bar. I was able, so this is a crazy kind of story. I unknowingly broke my collarbone back in like 2013, 2014. I learned a couple years ago that I broke it because I have a malunion in it now. I was seeing one of my therapists, and she was rubbing my collarbone. She goes, "When did you break your collarbone?" And I'm like, I don't know. I don't recall. She goes, "You have a malunion, which is when your bones basically heal misaligned." So I had completely snapped that in half, and it healed completely wrong. But now looking back, I'm able to be like, I remember that. And so I had at the time, I just thought I had maybe like a little slap tear in my shoulder, but I was unable to bench a straight bar, a 45-pound steel bar. I could not bench one rep. It was excruciating. But the bamboo bar, I could max that thing out with like 300 pounds and crank it out for reps, pain-free. So, and I was using a bamboo bar in college too. So I had very strong, stable, fairly mobile shoulder. There was a little mobility work that I needed to do. A lot of it was just thoracic kind of extension. I think just doing so much chest work, I was a little compressed in my posture. And just my pecs were pulling me so far forward. But was pretty stable in the shoulder, and just needed to work on a little bit of thoracic extension, and was able to figure things out really, really quickly. So yeah, like I said, get a big old deadlift. You're able to do bent over rows with 400 plus pounds, and you're doing high pulls. You're gonna be able to rip something off the ground and throw it overhead.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I talk about training. I know we told you like an hour and a half max, and we could sit here and talk to you for just hours, absolute hours.
Yeah, this will turn into a you and I conversation, Joe, where we realized we couldn't have 15-minute conversations, so we started a podcast. This is very easily, very easily going to happen with Sam, which I knew would happen.
So I have two really big questions to end this on. The first one's more of a train philosophy type question. Looking back 2016, Road to the Games, and like Christy was here. I was working with her. I worked with her for about 4 or 5 months at Westside. And then, they did the video and we were both in it. And your whole entrance was, I go to the YMCA and I'm going to hit all these motions. And it was all like Dustin, it's all great, like Gen 3 knotless stuff. And he's doing like a hammer pull over, leg extension. I love it.
I'm not gonna lie, that video got me juiced.
I told you.
I was pretty excited when I saw that.
It's great. Like hit all the machines that no one's ever heard of.
So biased.
It's so great. So because I think we have a love for like, hypertrophy. And like you said, like Sam, you're kind of doing like a bodybuilding-esque type split. Can you re-explain that to people where you go in, like, I'm just gonna hit one set for every body part. I'm just gonna get the body flowing, and why you do it, why you use machines, because a lot in CrossFit they don't believe machines have a place in life.
Yeah. So I still do something very similar to this day, but I don't have I shouldn't say that I don't have access to it, but I'm a little like when I'm living out in San Diego, I ride my bike everywhere, and you're kind of limited on time too and what you can accomplish within the day. Here in Quincy, it's much easier for me to do that. So when that video was recorded, filmed, it was when I was living in Quincy and training full-time in Quincy. And I had a membership at the YMCA, and every single day before I'd train, I would do a full body routine, and I would just do a top set on everything. Everything. Literally, I'd go like every single machine. And it was a pretty quick routine. And I do something still very similar today. So like when I go out to San Diego and start training, I'll hit top sets on everything pretty much every single day. So I'll hit like a top set of dips, top set of pull-ups, top set of push-ups, top set of sandbag squats in a front rack, top set on my shoulder. I'll do max distance carries overhead. And so I do something very, very similar still today. Just not as machine oriented. I still have some access to machines, and there's new technology coming out that's allowing me to do something similar. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Anchor Trainer. It's a cable machine that you can attach to basically anything. So I'm able to do some kind of isolated exercises with that. And but yeah, it was just and that kind of came from a little bit of conjugate stuff. Like every Monday we would do a top set, or was it Tuesday maybe? We hit a top set on bench. And just for people maybe have never heard that, it's just basically like a max set of something and you're done. And that's it. You just do one max set and you're out. And they're referencing a video of me, a Road to the Games video from 2016, and it showed me going to the YMCA, and I'd hit top set of tricep extensions and bicep curls and lat pull downs, and I would literally just bounce from machine to machine to machine of this kind of newer Nautilus equipment, and did that as like my warm-up every single day. And I still to this day do something very, very similar, just not as much on the machines. I do have like I have a chest press, a lat pull down, a leg extension, a hamstring curl, a pec deck, little fly, and a cable row machines in my gym here
in Q-Town Fitness.
Yep.
I'll rock on.
And yeah, and I like it too for some of my older clients, or people who are like just recovering or on the mend. It's nice to just throw them on that thing and have them go to town. But yeah, so I kind of got inspired to do that from some conjugate style training, but I integrated it into a more it was fully inspired by conjugate and accumulating volume over time and the effects of that. And I would always hear Louie talk about accumulating volume over time in regards to like the reverse hyper and how he would move 500,000 pounds of weight through the course of the week. So I did something really similar. It really doesn't take a lot from you. Like it wasn't I wasn't like going into my workouts and I didn't have like enough energy because I spent myself doing all these top sets. Like it truly was, it felt like a good warm up, and still to this day feels like a really good warm up, and I'm able to accumulate a sufficient amount of volume throughout the week. So if I'm hitting, 30 strict pull-ups every single day, and you're accumulating an additional 200 pull-ups on top of what you're already doing on your upper back day, it helps. So I do. I'm a big fan of accumulating volume throughout time at a very low intensity, and the effectiveness of that for performance. And it doesn't always have to be super high intensity,
Right. And I think
research coming out on that.
Yeah, and it's definitely
saying the benefits of that before you, that you don't have to train at these super high intensities. 50% and below are done the appropriate way will yield hypertrophy results. And then in your case, I mean, you're keeping some balance, just musculature wise around your whole body that you could neglect. So you keep things in balance, and then that little bit of extra work capacity you might get out of it as well if you're kind of taking short, depend on your rest time between stuff as well. But
right. Well, also doesn't wear and tear on the tendons and ligaments and the joints either, but you're getting that activation. That's something that's not overlooked.
That was a big thing I also took away from the conjugate style of training too, was just because a lot of those guys are on gear, but you'd have your muscles growing at such a rapid rate, and the tendons and ligaments would have a difficult time keeping up with it. And Louie's athletes were some of the healthiest power lifters in the game, dude. They were, they weren't popping stuff off, and they would do their little, their huge sets of banded extensions and stuff to just get a ton of blood and nutrients and oxygen into these isolated areas to nurture the ligaments and the tendons. So something that I still implement to this day. There's a lot that I learned from Louie's Louie's methodology and still implement to this day. And I'm really thankful for that stuff that's helped me stay really freaky strong without beating the crap out of myself.
Right. Okay. And then, so last thing, and we'll let you go because I know you're a busy man. You got a lot going on. You've heard the LeBron James versus Michael Jordan conversation. Yeah.
I not specifically, but I would imagine it has something to do with LeBron James going against Michael Jordan.
Right. Yeah. So if you had to make a bet on who's going to win 1-on-1 in their prime, half court, best of 7 points, who's gonna win that? LeBron or Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan. Have you seen that documentary, dude?
Yes. I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you're a Michael Jordan person.
This is actually a trick question. If you answer that question wrong, Joe doesn't even post the podcast.
Oh, it's true. It's true.
The whole thing's rigged.
I'm sure, dude. I don't really follow sports too much, and I'm sure LeBron's a phenomenal athlete, and if they did a documentary on him, I'm sure it would fire me up too, because I bet he works really, really hard and is a savage and wants to win. But I grew up in the Michael Jordan era, got to see him play a handful of times, and dude, seeing that, I think I immediately went to the gym and like just started being a savage for no reason. For no reason. Like I had nothing coming up. I had nothing I needed to train for, but I was like, dang, I'm gonna go max out my clean right now.
Yeah, it's like watching Rocky IV for the first time. Or the 100th time.
As long as you don't watch it and go try to do kipping dips, you'll be good.
No, don't do that. So
you'll be good.
Kipping dips. Oh my gracious. On 36-inch rings. Yeah. It's so awesome.
So
keeping that same mindset, Sam. And you've been on the floor, you've competed against the best in the world. You know, you are one of the best in the world. When you're thinking of Fraser versus Froning in their primes, you put them in a game scenario, 7, 9, 11 events. Let's just not think about what the events would be. Let's just say your knee-jerk reaction, who's going to win that?
Fraser, 100%. I've competed and trained with both of them.
Okay.
And and I've on team stuff, but I've beat Rich in workouts.
Okay.
I don't think I could write, even if I wrote the workout, I don't think I could write a workout that I could beat Matt at.
Really?
You know, I don't think I could. I'm sure there's something, 1 rep max deadlift. Okay.
Yeah.
I can beat Matt at that. But be a real CrossFit workout where there's multiple disciplines in it, or even just 2, just even a couplet. And if I even got to choose everything about it, I do not think I could write a workout where I could beat him in his prime. But like Rich, I've competed next to Rich, like head to head, and have kept up and in some cases beat him. It's really, it is incredible what Matt was able to do and how much he was able to dominate, dude. It's hard to even, it's hard for people already to grasp the reality of some of these athletes' abilities and their physiques. And that's why most people are always like, drugs. All these games athletes are juiced to the gills. If you don't think that every one of the CrossFit Games athletes is juiced to the gills, you're an idiot. Like, I get why people say that, because it's hard to comprehend what these athletes are doing. And then there's the whole nother level with that, with Matt. I just it's difficult, even with the things that I've been able to do and the training that I've put in to be able to do certain things. It's insane with that man, how dominant he was able to be in the sport. But I'm a big Rich fan. You know,
Yeah. Backtracking. Love Rich.
he's the, to me, he's the Michael Jordan.
Okay.
You know, he's the Michael Jordan. I don't know I don't know shit about LeBron. LeBron might really be better. I have no idea. I really don't know anything about basketball. But just, you know, coming up in the era, and, you know, I kind of came up in the Rich area. I was like, he was my hero. You know, getting to compete against him and line up next to him has been such an honor and a privilege. He's an amazing man of character, and so is Matt. I work with Matt. He helps out with some of our non-for-profit stuff, and he's an amazing dude with great care. Obviously, people ask me this question all the time. They're like, "Dude, tell us about some of the games athletes. Like, what are they like? Who's the biggest dickhead? Like, they want to know who like the shitty people are." And I'm like, there's really not many. I would have to work really hard to give you some flack on someone. You know, I would have to dig real, like, I'd be like, oh, maybe this person, because they're quiet. Like that would be the type of response I would have to give you to talk shit on someone. But it's really hard, I think, to reach that type of level without having certain characteristics about yourself. And so I'm not trying to backpedal and be like, Matt's a cool guy too. Because they're like, everyone's really, really awesome and very inspiring and has a great deal of character. It's hard to do the things that they're doing without it.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Well, we know this is like a little over an hour and a half now. Like, is there anything you want to plug before we say goodbye? I'll put all the links down below. Like, anything you want to throw out there?
Yeah. You know, my wife and I, we've been running a non-for-profit for, it's been a while now, more than a couple, 6 years maybe. I don't know the exact date. But we've been able to do, through the help of people making donations, and we've been able to do some amazing things for athletes with special needs of all kinds, physical, cognitive, social. There's really no limit to it. It's really any unique circumstance that is prohibiting someone from getting to experience the gift of wellness. We through the Dancer Love Foundation, we basically raise money to help get underprivileged athletes with special circumstances into the gym. And we're even now to the point where we're starting to create certifications, if you will, because like one of the biggest questions I constantly get are people like, dude, how do I get started training someone with Down syndrome in my gym? What do I do if someone doesn't have a leg? Like, how do I train them? And it's really not any different than the model that we already have in place, which is this infinitely scalable model to fitness. So like, everyone's actually already equipped with everything they need to know to be able to serve anyone with a special need. But to make people a little bit more comfortable and confident with reaching out and creating programs like that for individuals with special needs, we're putting together training modules and camps, if you will, where people can get certified and just basically it's just to feel more comfortable and confident training people. The certifications really are kind of moving. It's just basically a piece of paper saying that you came to one, but it doesn't really mean anything. But we've been able to do incredible things for these individuals, and it's only because of people's support that we've been able to pay coaches at very competitive rates and help athletes with special needs get into a gym for free.
Nice.
So the program here locally has been blowing up and doing really, really well. And we have people all over the country and the world that we've been able to help support. And so if anyone ever needs support or knows someone that they think would love to get into a gym, but just is having a tough time making ends meet, we can help facilitate that. And if anyone wants to learn more about the Dancer Love Foundation and what we do, all that stuff's online at dancerlove.org. I think it's Dancer Love, might be Dancer Love Foundation, but if you just Google Dancer Love Foundation, like, you're gonna find it. And if you want to make a donation, that's cool. If you want to, if you need help, that's cool too. We just like, or if you just want to learn more about it, whatever. And also I'm starting to get more into like corporate wellness. And it's not like, I don't want to say, it sounds kind of bad, but like teaching people about wellness who are already kind of into wellness isn't really doing it for me anymore. So I want to help. I want to teach people who don't know anything about wellness, and bringing holistic wellness into the workplace. And so if there's ever any companies, I just got to do one for this big manufacturing company that's fairly local to here. They got nearly 200 employees, and I got to talk to 200 people who probably never heard anything about wellness, like people who are coming to my talk and they're carrying Mountain Dews,
Yeah.
And going out for cigarette breaks and probably eat mostly gas station food.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really, really well received, and I really enjoyed it. I'm going to be doing one at Yeti headquarters soon, but if anyone like that would ever want me to come speak and help out and just improve the culture. I mean, if everyone was feeling, and that's really all I want. I just want people to feel as good as I feel, man. And it's available to everybody, and I want to help educate people so that they can feel as good as what they were designed to feel. And yeah, really, that's about it. That's kind of, besides my professional career as a CrossFitter, that's kind of the things that I love to do the most is teach and serve. And if you ever want to learn more about that, you can check out the Dancer Love Foundation, or you can reach out to me personally. Our contact information, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me at Q-Town Fitness. These days it's really not that to find someone and contact them. So, and yeah, man, it's been a real pleasure to chat with you guys. You guys are fun. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, or if you want to do another one of these or something like that, just don't hesitate to reach out. I love you guys.
Hell yeah, I appreciate
everyone
time, man.
for listening. Yeah, man.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon.
Likewise. Thanks,
all right.
man.
See you, dude.
All right, brother. See you.
Bye.
Peace.
Peace.
Very well.
How awesome
Feel good about that?
is Sam?
I knew it. I knew it. You never know. I mean,
no, you know.
I
do know. I do know.
You knew. I mean,
Yeah.
I knew in my heart. I was like, I know. You just know. I don't. You know how you just know. I mean, I just like when I met you. I was like, I know. I like this guy. I
like Fraser. everything fits.
But I think it goes kind of what he's saying. I had this assumption too. When you're dealing with certain echelon of people, it's just like you don't get to that point and successful at it if you're not made up of a little something. I mean, there's a lot of depth to that, but I want to say he was better than I expected, but he is as good as my expected, but I just had really high expectations.
This is why I love that guy. Obviously he's strong as balls, and he's genuine as fuck.
That's it.
You can't ask for any more than that. You really can't. Very open guy, like very open book. I wish more people were like that, which is very.
That's it. Well, and the mentality
realistic.
too, it's critical. I mean, he's maybe there's stages to this. Also, I think where we've gotten to with this that, in the beginning, like fitness journey. I think it's for a lot of people. I mean, I if we had more time with Sam, we're bringing back. I'd love to hear his philosophy on more of that progression story. But you know, in the beginning, you start with therapy. Like I was training for therapy. Like I was trying to manage my own problems and manage my life, and athletics were part of my extension of what was bringing me joy. So this was I thought that it was gonna correlate straight over if I got bigger and stronger and faster. And then you go to this next stage until you get to the point where it's like, all I want to do is give back. All I want to do is give back at this small level. And then if you realize you can give back at a small level, you want to do it at a bigger level and a bigger level. And you start with that low bearing fruit and you keep going higher and higher to the point where it's like, no, I just want to help the people that are most in need. I just want to make it better. And we do that collectively. And, you know, hopefully we actually see a better human environment where we're at now, and it gets bigger and bigger. But
when he was telling that story about how he was bullied, some of the stuff he was saying out of his mouth, I was like, I've never seen it, and I've never comprehended that someone could actually be that, you know, fucking mean towards somebody. Yeah. Like it just blows my mind. But that would drive me to bench 5 plates by 16.
Yeah, no, that,
you know, if I was being like spit on and kicked, like,
no, for sure. Some of that registers if like you're in a violent environment, like if you're worried about getting beat up or something, I get that at some level. I think, but if you live in that for any length of time, I wonder what biologically is kicking in to be like, no, I got to turn into Bane and I got to climb out of the darkness. And that's clearly what happened. Cause he clearly has some genetic gifts, but when you're in the realm of benching 500 pounds, you know,
it's age 16,
at 16, like I was a strong kid at 16. Like I put up some of my best numbers when I was a child too, and it's cause you're living in this heightened state, but that's ungodly at that age. Like
that's like world championship level shit.
Yes.
That's I remember Lou once told me, because this is another thing I didn't, gotta have him back, talk to him again, because there's a whole other story about him. Have you ever seen or done a Russian clean where you're on your knees and you clean
I
it?
feel
You
like
catch
I
it in a
saw
full clean?
Klukov post a Russian clean one time. Well, actually, for a while I was trying to mimic everything that guy did.
Well, good luck with
sure
that,
I've attempted one.
No.
And it's ridiculous.
So
physically hard from a mobility wise and a bunch of things. It's unbelievably hard.
I feel like I need to reach out and ask him to get a certain on this. It was at least 3 plates that he did, or 3 1/4 or 4 plates. It was something ungodly.
Well, now we know that's what you do for him to choose the events to win. Well, I don't know if that's the case.
A Russian clean. You tell Matt Fraser we're gonna do.
Well, if he told Matt Fraser, Fraser can do a better Russian clean than that. That's
pretty good. But
no wonder he said that.
I remember Lou telling me once, like, this guy, if this guy can do, a 4-plate Russian clean, he's in the wrong sport. I'm like, there's no way he can do that. I remember seeing a video, and I don't remember the plates
people.
now.
Look up Russian clean, and then even try to comprehend what it would look like.
Try to shit a chicken. Try to do it with 185. Good luck with that.
Try to do it with the barbell.
Oh, that's not a good point.
90% of the population.
The barbell would have training plates on first. See what happens. But